You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, it's AFTERBUZZ TV's Game Control Live.
Hey guys, and what is happening? Welcome to Game Control Live. We're doing an E3 edition episode because E3 is coming and I cannot wait. But before we get to E3, all the way across from me, way across the table, Grant Kohrmann.
Now way across the street, like more recently?
Now it's a table this time.
Well, hello everybody.
You're really quiet there. Scream. Okay. And to some Halo beats, Raychul Moore.
Hi guys.
And guys, sitting next to me, the lovely Kaori Takee.
Hey guys.
And guys, I'm Dave Klein, and we're playing some Halo music because we got a lot of Xbox One to talk about. A lot of Xbox One coming out. But before we get to that, we do have a special guest with us.
Yay!
Sohrab Osati of SonyRumors.net. He's actually the founder of SonyRumors.net.
Yay.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
So, we are ready to kick it off and get started because today we're going to talk about E3, what we're excited for, what we cannot wait to see, what we think we're going to be seeing, a whole slew of quick hit news stories. And when I say that, I mean we've got like 6 or 7 to talk about.
A slew.
A slew of them. Gaming moments of the week, and if we've got time, we're going to talk about the morality of pirating games. But before all of that, let's go ahead and jump off on kind of the big moment of the end of this week, which was the Xbox One updates again. So again, we have a whole bunch of rumors, not rumors this time, confirmations coming from Xbox Wire.
But before we go on, lest we forget, Dave, what can they do if they want to become a part of the conversation?
You guys can chat in the live chat, or
Yeah, just chat in the live chat.
yeah, just chat in the live chat, whatever. But if you guys are on the live chat, if you guys are joining us live, please do call in at 424-256-1729 if you have any thoughts. If you have any questions, if you guys want to chime in on your favorite thoughts about E3 or things that you think about the Xbox One or Xbone, let us know what you think. So
I vote to demolish that name.
That is so
Xbone.
silly.
I think it pretty much denoted from Twitter. I think that's why people are calling that is because of Twitter.
I can tell you right where it came from. Some 14-year-old.
Yeah.
No, but you write in, you want to do a hashtag, right? And you've only got limited
Xbone.
characters. Hashtag Xbox One takes up more characters than hashtag XB1.
Not gonna lie,
Xbone.
it wasn't a 14-year-old, or else it'd be an R at the end of all of it. Just like really think about
That
it. If
is
it was
a good point.
14-year-old, it'd be X-boner.
Boner.
Xbox.
That's what I would do. I'm starting it. It's not going to be a
Should.
14-year-old. It's going to be a 26-year-old
Let's
starting
start
the trend.
X-boner.
With the maturity level of a 14-year-old,
Pretty
let's not
much.
mince
Yes,
words.
yes.
Pretty much. So Xbox One, though, we got a bunch of updates because we've got, and actually, guys, before I do that, I do want to say that the music we played, Halo theme remix, Combat Evolved theme by Plasma 3 remixes, just so you fans of gaming music can go look that up. So Xbox One, the first thing that we're going to talk about is their rentals and used games that they came out and sort of clarified on Xbox Wire. And that would be that the publishers are the ones, as Grant has consistently said, publishers are the ones who are going to get to choose the fee, if there's a fee associated with the used games, if they're going to get extra money, or if you can even give used games away at all. Maybe you won't be able to. It's all up to the publisher.
Before we get started, I just wanted to point out this dropped on June 6th at 3 p.m. is the date and time of the blog posting. This caught everybody off guard. It didn't seem like any one of the publications was prepared for this announcement or this update on Xbox.com because a couple minutes later, they're all like going like, okay, they have one-line articles and they're like, the news story is developing. Let it give us a couple seconds to like react to this, check it over, read through everything. And even they themselves were a little bit caught off guard by this. This is not like a hand-in-hand press announcement like the press announcement 2
But
weeks
doesn't
ago.
this kind of go in line with everything that's happened? That it doesn't seem to be real leadership coming from the Xbox position.
I still
That
think it's
information seems to
leadership.
be like coming all over though. I mean, you'll hear somebody say something, then somebody will say something a little later that contradicts it. Randomly, there'll be a press release. I mean, generally for something like that, you'd figure, especially with how much hysteria's been around, they'd contact all the news sites and be like, hey,
Yeah.
here's some information that
Yeah.
we're going to be releasing, as opposed to all of them suddenly being like, oh my God, developing story, and then they got to continuously update it just to keep
Well,
up
it's the
with it.
press. The
Yeah.
press have taken small tidbits of information and tend to blow it out of proportion.
Yes,
so, for
they do.
example, this blog posting led a lot of news websites to say, "Oh, there's no fees associated with used games. You can trade in your games at GameStop." But I mean, if you start to read through all the information, which is similar to what happened with the Xbox announcement 2 weeks ago, is like you get a small tidbit or a small line in a PowerPoint, and then a press website tends to take it to the extreme and try to extrapolate off of that. What does that mean for the used game industry? What does that mean for retail stores or trading in your games or sharing your games?
GameFly.
Yeah.
Well, I think like Xbox is giving like little indications of what might come out, and they want to see how responsive and how people are responding to it, and then they say something
think-
else. They're just trying to mold into pleasing all of us.
I think if it's the publishers, on the publisher's idea, I don't even think Microsoft might fully know exactly what all
I
this
really
could
think it's
mean.
the publishers as well. It's hard to tell, but I think that Sony also has an agreement like this, and I think it comes off of the fact that these are Blu-ray discs now, and each of these Blu-ray discs can have a serial number associated with it. They probably also code some proprietary information onto it, but the publishers have been pushing for serial numbers and DRM to be put onto these discs so that they can kind of like police and control the aftermarket. I still think Sony has something like this built into the PS4. They just haven't said anything.
Yeah.
They're enjoying seeing Microsoft like flounder as they try to tell everybody that this is going to come and it's going to be there. Because like this Xbox, I think feels like they have a little bit more of a duty to their consumers to tell them that this is what you're going to be experiencing. Like if you ask somebody what do you think you're going to be experiencing on the PS4, they're going to be a little bit more vague.
Everybody's putting this on the Xbox, but if the publishers decide to make a fee for used games on the Xbox, I guarantee it's going to be on the PS4 as well.
It's really frustrating
I think
because
it have to be.
I just feel like games should be just easy to share, and it's getting hard.
Well, especially if you buy the game and you own it. I mean, when I think about it, I feel like when I buy a game, I should own it, even though that hasn't been the rule for 10 years. Technically, when you buy it, you don't own the rights to the content.
This might actually kind of spur that, because I know that I've been really comfortable with the fact that, like, okay, yeah, I buy a piece of software and I don't technically own it. Like,
I'm not comfortable with that.
Hold on. I'll explain. Believe me. I'm comfortable with it because they can't come back and get it. They can't come to my house and take it away. Like
But that's if you have a disc. But the problem with Xbox One now is that they can take it away.
PC games, even for the most part, like they couldn't take it back. Like only the really proactive companies, like let's say you had a World of Warcraft account, or you were like on Counter-Strike and you were cheating, like companies like that would swing the ban hammer, but we're talking about a small fraction of games that have registered serial numbers associated with them. They've all had the ability to do this if you have a server that you dial into in order to start the game.
Well, Sohrab, what were you going to say?
Well, I think that's the fear, though, is 2 years ago, Amazon famously had a case where somebody downloaded a book from Kindle and it eventually turned into this debacle where Amazon had an issue with the publisher, and overnight the book disappeared from everyone's Kindle because they continuously talked to Amazon's server. And I think some of the fear sometimes now is, if I don't actually own disc and I need to continuously connect, every 24 hours, how much right do I really have over this? If the publisher screws up, or if publisher releases a level and then they're like, you know what, we want to pull this back, something would happen with like Grand Theft Auto and things like that, you're never really in control of that content if it's always at the whim of the developers to pull something back, to change something. You're kind of just at the mercy of this ever-evolving format that you happen to have on your hands. I think that's kind of the issue, is you don't. Right now, with the PS3, with the PS2, with even the 360, well, great, unplug your Ethernet cord, pop in that game, and unless you're doing multiplayer, it'll work. But now that guarantee isn't baked in anymore.
Which is pretty crazy to me, but I do want to say some of the things that they did talk about on Xbox Wire, because that is their official press release when they do that. So, I mean, things they say, I mean, even if the company execs aren't coming out and confirming it, that if it's on Xbox Wire, it should be official. And they were saying that it is, even though you're talking about people jumping on these news stories and all the journalists going crazy, they did say that it's going to be up to the developer and the publisher on that. So we know that, and we also know that they said, as far as rental games, that's still kind of up in the air, and they're exploring the possibilities. So what's that going to do for GameFly and Blockbuster? That's also a really huge question, is how that's all going to come down and how that's going to affect those companies. It seems like they're actually being a little more lenient towards GameStop than they might be towards GameFly. And the way I think about it, especially if you can just download a game,
They say
GameFly might go out of business.
They've hinted that there's going to be a Windows Azure. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but like a Windows 8 application to authorize and deauthorize games that they may end up giving to the retailers that support used game sales. But still, I mean, like when you say that like the technology's there, we're just going to leave it up to the publishers. That basically says, yeah, we've done our part as Microsoft, and we've built it in, and we've like hashed it out, and it works. We've tested it, and considering most of these features are going to be offline until maybe after the launch or after everything like smooths out, they may or may not activate that stuff depending upon the backlash or how PS4 implements it.
Yeah,
Because
well, Hayden on the chat is kind of agreeing with what you guys were saying, Rachel and Grant, that Hayden Goringe says, I think Sony is riding luck right now more than great PR. I'm sure Sony will be pressured by publishers just like Microsoft is, being into doing what Microsoft is doing.
Yeah.
Like you guys were saying. Owen Harper wanted to update me that it looks like hashtag Xboner is already a hashtag.
Oh, yeah,
and
for
already
sure.
trending. So
somebody out there has the brilliant idea.
there, yeah, it is a brilliant idea.
Or I'm a trendsetter.
That
Do you
was a
guys thought about
14-year-old's
that?
Contribution.
Yeah.
That was like somebody's like you can be sure that whoever made that up like posted it and was like, yes, I've done a good thing for the day.
Probably. I did a good thing for the world.
no.
But so another thing that we were finding out about the Xbox One is hard now. I just want to say it. It's just it's easier to say than Xbox One.
I'm just gonna call it the one box.
It's not like
I wanna call it
360 had a nice, easy to say name. But the online authentication. So to authenticate your games online, as you were saying, Sohrab, you do have this 24-hour check now. And we know that. They've confirmed this on Xbox Wire, that every 24 hours they have to check to authenticate your games.
Yeah.
And I was thinking more on this because I am always connected now at this point. But I was talking to my brother who just graduated college, and I know his dorm had really crappy internet where they couldn't be connected. In my hometown, I have great internet in my hometown, but our video game consoles have always been in the basement where we.
Time Warner just disconnected me earlier this week, and on Monday or whatever, they were just like randomly like upgrading a business in my neighborhood, and we're like, just disconnected me for 24 hours.
And then even in my hometown where we have great internet, we always keep our consoles in the basement where the Wi-Fi doesn't reach. We don't have an Ethernet cord that goes down there, so our systems, we just have never had online connectivity there. So I think this is a bigger issue than people are realizing, even if you live in a rural area. If you don't play your game, or if you're not connected once during the 24-hour check, you cannot play your single-player game.
You gotta blame pirates for it. Don't blame the companies for it.
They can turn it on and off, and we're talking about a console which I'm thinking that the console cycle will be a little bit shorter this time around because like in 4 or 5 years they may have something different as opposed to like the 8 or 10 years that we had with the most recent generation. But still, I mean, like, who knows what we're going to have in 8 or 10 years? We might have
be
like municipal Wi-Fi. We might have
day.
like Google Fiber.
It's going to be in my brain.
We're talking
like
about
right now, we don't always have.
And they don't have to turn those features on
But this
right
is
now.
the future. We're always moving
They have those
forward.
features built in. They've talked about it as being part of their overarching part of their architecture, but they don't actually have to stick with it. They
But
can
if the
flip a switch to turn it on
but right
or
now the
off.
24-hour authentication check is what they're doing. That's what they're doing right now. And another thing that they're doing is, because this is kind of how they're working with sharing games too, and something that we should talk about as well real quick.
Both Microsoft and Sony are playing chicken. Just to
Well, hold
just
on.
to go back
Let
to
me
this for a
say
second.
I want to
If
explain the points that we know.
Yeah.
So what we know is that you can share your Xbox One games with up to 10 family members. We know that, and we don't know what family members is determined by and defined by.
They tweeted about that. They said
they?
it's up to 10 people, but they also said that they would have to be on your friends list for X amount of time.
30 days.
30 days.
Yeah.
And if you want to share it with your friend and play a game at a friend's house, you can do that. You have to re-download the game on your friend's Xbox One, but it does an hourly authentication check to make sure that you're on your user, and you have to be on your username. So it's even more so. And again, I mean, it's kind of like, to me, I just wish I could bring a game over, like back in the day when I play Mario Kart with friends. I bring my Mario Kart over to their house. We play it for a couple hours, and I bring it back home. I don't have to install a game. I don't have to worry about if their house has good internet connectivity. And the thing is, I see where they're coming from, because this is a difficult issue you're dealing with now that you can download games. Now that's more like Steam. I get that. I understand that it's much more difficult. I just don't know if I like the way they're handling it.
But the more people, the easier it is for people to pirate things, the more they're going to have to lock down on it, and that's just reality. And
and if they don't get ahead of it now, in 8 years, who knows? If, technically speaking, if they had the same disc and technology in order to authenticate or protect the rights of their games on a DVD or Blu-ray, let's just put it this way. reset here. If they had the same technology and protections on the Xbox One 8 years from now that they do currently have on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, they'd be screwed. But in 8 years or in 5 or 4 years, like, you're gonna have people just handing out discs. And if they don't like step up to the bat and say like, okay, let's check every hour or every 24 hours to make sure that the game is, you know, like a real authentic game, like, they're gonna lose the battle, because in that 8-year time, the pirates and the people who steal games or copy or distribute them illegally will beat the war on
Well,
them.
plus anybody who
win
has
the war.
had their Xbox Live account stolen is gonna love this check, because it's gonna pretty much stop that kind of
But
stuff.
wait, if their Xbox Live account is stolen, then all of a sudden, that person has every single game because they stole their Xbox Live account.
But with
They
this
stole their
24-hour
username.
check, it's going to be able to stop that. As it's not going to be as easy as it was once before.
I hope so, because if they do manage to steal their username, then all of a sudden they have all that person's games and their username and everything. And that
I
person
think what's
just
interesting
SOL.
is a lot of these features.
But it's locked to your system, though.
maintain-
Oh, that's true.
A lot
Good
of these
point.
features only would really work if PlayStation/Sony did this as well. So I think that what's happening right now is that Sony and Microsoft are playing kind of like a game of chicken to see who flinches first, and the person that flinches first will end up implementing all these like really, you know, ugly looking features that protect their software, but the consumer backlash will hurt them in the long run. So they'll lose like 20% or 30% of the customers, or they'll lose a significant number of their first generation buyers on this console.
Yeah.
But
you have to
like,
wonder, though,
but
how much
eventually these features will be similar across both consoles. Like, you will only be able to sell a used game with a fee going to the publisher on both the PS3 or Sony, or you won't be. It can't be one or the other, because EA would never allow it to, for your Xbox version of Battlefield, to cost money to buy it used, but not the PS3 version, because they would be basically saying, yeah, we rather like you to buy the game on the PS4.
Yeah, I mean, that policy has to be the same. Otherwise, yeah, consumers can't go in there, you know, deciding, do I want to buy one version or the other based on, you know, does it have fees, does it have licenses, do I need to do research
And it would
on
happen.
that?
It
And
would
so
literally
has to
happen
be
overnight.
The same for everybody, but I think the issue with that is you would figure that all this stuff was settled probably
Yeah, and it
6 months
probably
ago,
was. It
you know?
probably was
There's
organized
no way
with
that
the
they're
publishers.
just now figuring this out. So, I mean, it really is curious then, are we going to get the same
Yeah.
thing on the PS4? Or is there really going to
That's
be
what I'm
Right, and that's
expecting.
also a big question, because I know, I wonder if you don't on the PS4, because then Xbox One has a better relationship with publishers probably to make exclusive games. But then again, maybe consumers will be more driven to buy a PS4, and then they have to go to the PS4 market because more people own it.
I think just, so, like I said, Sony's playing the I'm going to stay quiet game, hoping that people like
Maybe we'll
dedicate
find out in a
themselves to
couple
buy
days.
it,
Yeah, very
and
soon.
then like they're going to come out and say like, ha, fooled you. You know,
Right.
we got the same shit as Xbox.
So
Yeah.
before I move on to maybe us finding out in a couple of days, I do want to talk about Kinect just real brief, because they did do some clarifications for Kinect. You can turn it off. That's the big thing. You can turn it off. It's not going to be sending out any of the things that it records anywhere unless you turn that feature on. So it has a lot of privacy settings that you can turn it off. So they're trying to make and clarify that they're letting it so you don't have to let it be Big Brother.
yeah, that was like one.
Yeah, that's
that was
good.
a lot of companies like,
I'm still gonna
this is
cover
the
it.
only good thing out of the entire announcement is that
I'm
it
gonna
only
put-
is it's only as privacy concerning as the current generation.
I'm gonna
of
bet
Xbox
$20,
Kinect.
$20 down right now that within a week of this coming out, some hacker is gonna figure out a way to go through there remotely and turn it on and record
no.
everything without your permission.
I'll
Yeah.
take your $20 bet.
I usually-
$20, Grant.
It's basically like
Such
a
a
more
freaking
boring
complicated
version.
operating system. No hacker is going to be able to remote control other people's Xbox.
They've done it before.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind, some people, that's what hackers do. They love to try and figure out how to break systems and try to figure out how to... It's like a puzzle to them. I mean, you know, so I mean, I'm sure people would try to
But
figure it
don't
out.
you have to like turn it off completely? Because I usually don't really turn off my
But
systems.
you know what? I feel like if if a hacker figured out how to do that, it would basically be like a boring version of chat roulette. Because then
Yeah.
you're trying to go to everyone's thing, and you're just gonna see everyone playing a game in the zombie face.
Yeah, zombie face.
So,
Please don't do that.
so boring chat roulette. But let's move on though, because we've been talking a lot about Xbox One to the fact that we're gonna be hearing even more about the actual games actually Monday's the press conferences.
Monday's press conference, yeah.
In 2 days from now, while we're recording the show on Saturday, so Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo, all the big announcements, because E3 is here. What are you guys excited about? What do you think you cannot wait for? And I'm actually wondering, because we do have Sohrab here, head of Sony rumors. What do you think we're going to see from PS4?
I think the big thing is right now, this is a little bit odd for me to say, but it's the fact that Sony and I think Microsoft are ultimately playing two very different games. And I think as of right now, Microsoft does have the more forward-thinking strategy, so to speak, while Sony's more going to the gamers and to the core. They're really saying, you know what, this is a gaming machine first, where I think it's clear that Microsoft said, we're not. And here's why. Sony was always interested in making a gaming console. With the first PlayStation, they wanted to go after gamers. I think the vision for Microsoft was never we wanted to deal with gamers. We wanted to be in the living room, and they're finally getting to there. And I think that's why there is this less of a focus. They have a much more grand vision for what the Xbox ultimately is than it just being a gaming machine. And I think gaming was just an avenue to get into it, where I think what you're really going to see from Sony is going to be mostly just games. Yeah, you'll probably hear everything else trickle out, like your Hulus and all those, fun applications, but I think they're going to keep it 90% games on stage, nothing else.
Yeah. And which I think actually Xbox One is going to do as well, because now they have to. But I mean, and I've said this in previous shows, it really just makes me feel like the Xbox One is more of an Apple TV type of device. Whereas, I mean, we're still finding out about the PS4. Do you think we're going to see a lot of that functionality in the PS4 that we've been talking about?
I don't think right off the bat, because I think Microsoft has more of the ecosystem that they're trying to establish than Sony does. And I think a big part of that, for it to all work, is do you have that ecosystem in place for these devices to start talking together and these services?
Yeah.
And I think Microsoft right now has the upper hand. Now, whether that's what consumers want, that's, to be debated. But I think Sony is still really working on their back end with the Sony Entertainment Network and all that stuff to really get that up and running.
Yeah, they want the music service. They want the video service.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they definitely have a lot of say in that, too. But I don't think they're as organized. I think in the last year, they've done a much better job. And I think now that the Vita is mandatory with every PS4 title being launched for it to include some kind of remote play feature, I think because of that, you're seeing them slowly kind of get the idea of, okay, we need all these devices to work together. But I think Microsoft is ahead there. Again, now, whether that's what consumers want or not.
Right, because even if they are ahead, I mean, technically, when you think about it, the N-Gage was ahead when they came out with the N-Gage, and having their taco phone where you could play video games on it. But at the time, it was, I mean, it was a bad design because it looked like a taco when you're talking on it. But it was sort of ahead because now people all play games on their phone. But it was kind of a thing where people weren't ready for it, I feel like. And that's kind of the issue is, I mean, yeah, maybe Xbox One is forward thinking ahead, but are they to the points? And even like Sega went to that point where sometimes they were too far ahead.
Right, and I think a majority of consumers are going to walk in, especially this holiday, and say, okay,
Sega.
I want to play games. Which one of these blatantly offers me games? And I think that's where Sony might be able to trump it, especially if they can drop a few exclusives, that others might not.
Depends on the game.
Jonathan Blow, we know that he's coming out with his new game.
Depends on the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we will find that all out at this E3. So what are you guys looking forward to? What announcements?
I have been actually, as best as I can, making appointments, but still not exactly paying attention to what I'll be seeing.
Yeah.
So I want to be surprised. Because every freaking year, they announce all their games right before E3. So when I get to E3, it's all like, I knew that was coming out.
Monday.
Yeah, it's a little sad.
Monday ruins it, and then Tuesday, it's like, well, okay, fine. Everybody's got it.
So
Especially the last couple years, because they've been like...
They announce everything right away.
Everything's been streamed, and like, everybody's nitpicked it. The publications have people on a 24-hour cycle starting on Sunday morning.
But I mean, it's great for me.
Keep myself quiet, kind of like schedule meetings, but at the same time be on a little bit of a media blackout. So I can get to E3 and they'll be like, "Hi, welcome to your appointment. You're seeing this game," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
So I want that back.
Because I'm kind of having that too, where like I've been scheduling appointments that are like, these are the games that we're going to show you, and I'm like, but what about the surprises? I guess there.
But I love the emails that they're like, they tell you, they're like, you're seeing these games and an unannounced title, and that's when I'm like, okay. That is gonna be great.
But like something that like Bethesda told me all of a sudden, I had 2 interviews set up with Bethesda, and all of a sudden, like they're like, hey, we're also going to be showing, like literally this was like Thursday or Friday. They're like, hey, we'd also like to see Evil Within, by the way. And I'm like,
yes,
what?
I know,
Yes.
I know, I got that one too. I'm so excited.
You guys know I love Bethesda.
I just don't want to see it. I'm stopping.
But here's the thing about Evil Within. This was Rachel's moment of the week a couple weeks ago with the barbed wire video.
Yeah.
And they finally also released actual screenshots from the game last week.
Yeah, and it looks like
And it looks
Silent Hill.
amazing.
It looks like Silent Hill.
Well, yeah.
mixed with like a little bit of like the Fallout engine. Or
Well, it's by the guy who made the Resident Evil series. It's his
I'm
new
gonna
game.
bash heads in. It's gonna be great.
It looks even crazier than Resident Evil to me when I was looking at the screenshots. So I'm like, what? Yes, I want to see
Yeah, I
Evil
know.
Within. That looks amazing.
I know, me too. Yay!
Yeah, but I mean, you guys know me. You probably know what I'm most looking forward to.
Dark
Souls 2.
Dark Souls.
The demo. I scheduled a demo, so hopefully they'll let me actually take a crack at playing it. And if they do, I'll let you guys know all
You're
my
not leaving
interpretations.
yourself, and you're not leaving anything to the imagination. You've put it out there so many times that if any publisher's paying attention, they know they just have to bring you a Dark
They
Souls.
have to.
2,
Yeah.
You have to make it
3.
happen.
I need to see
But here's the thing.
Last Guardian. If we do not get Last Guardian at this
Yes.
E3, I give up.
I think there's some sort of a
Zelda for
release
me.
that is supposed to be at E3.
Well,
I
that
think
was
I read
a
that.
rumor too.
And I think
I need
it's a PS4
confirmation.
title at this point.
Oh yeah,
Well, yeah, it's
it
gotta
probably
be.
would be.
Yeah, I think they screwed it
I
up
think
so many
most
times when it came to
PS3
rebuild.
games will be that come out like
First party.
closer. No, I think they're going to be PS3, but then ported to PS4 as well.
I don't know about the porting part.
Yeah,
it
because
seems
I think
like
it's a little
so
bit more
hard for
difficult to
them
develop
do
for
it
the
right
PS3.
now. I don't know if that extra
I think the big
cost-
ones are going to do it. I think the big ones are going to do
I
it.
think that it was so hard to develop for the PS3 that any company, especially these companies which are cash strapped, can't afford to develop for like 3 entirely different systems. They
Well,
might
they
go like
wouldn't.
2.
If you're on
I think
PS3,
that-
you just port it to
Yeah, but
PS4. It might not look
Microsoft,
that much better.
Microsoft is like,
It's like Zelda,
supporting their developers by
Twilight
saying
Princess.
like you can develop it for the Xbox 360 and also develop it for the Xbox
Then that's my
One very
prediction.
easily.
I bet $20. Bet $20.
Another
It's kinda
$20
like
bet,
$20
people.
I mean,
What?
or maybe they'll do a Twilight Princess
Wait a minute,
with
what were
it.
you betting? $20?
I'm betting $20 that some of the bigger PS3 games are going to be ported to the PS4 within this year.
Right, and
of
you'd
the
have to
bigger
imagine it kind of be like a
PS3.
Twilight Princess deal, where the better definitive versions on PS4, but you can still get it on
Because
PS3.
if it's on PS3, they're not going to want to release a game for a system that's about to some gamers die as soon as the PS4 comes out. For me,
Yeah.
But you're
as soon as the
talking about a
PS4
company
comes out,
which had
PS3 is gone.
You're talking about a company which had its last generation console last almost 10 years past when it was like officially like,
They're going to be
not
ported.
supported.
I'm telling you, they're going to be.
So,
it's going to happen.
do you think we're going to see The Last of Us on PS4? Because that would melt my mind.
I,
It's just gone.
I don't know. I
the
just think
anymore
I
already.
just think it would be silly for the companies not to do it. At least within just the rest of this year, it'd be silly
Yeah.
for them not to do it, and that is why I have
Well,
$20
I saw a
on
demo.
You
it.
always want to be off the bat a title that comes out, because those are going to
Yeah.
sell, and that's how you can establish a new IP too.
I saw the Last of Us demo and I played it a little bit at WonderCon, so I'm pretty sure they're gonna have it.
Well, I think Rachel's gonna be talking a little bit
Yeah.
about that a little later. But I want to read off Tony B. DJ on the chat says zombies and lots of them is what he wants to see at E3. Owen Harper says Smash Brothers and Zelda.
Yeah, it's got to be a Zelda.
ADV_Zafon says
Screwing
Fallout
themselves.
4 is what he's looking the most forward to. And R.
New
Burton,
Dragon Age.
R. Burton says Assassin's Creed 6. Oh, never mind. We'll be both on PS3 and PS4. Never mind. That was just a comment. That was just a comment. I'm sorry.
New Dragon
He's
Age.
fooling with you.
Daryl Best says more Zelda with an exclamation
Yeah,
mark.
no Nintendo.
More Zelda.
Even
If
though
they
they're
don't
not.
bring a Zelda, it just kind of re-solidifies for me that I think Nintendo is lost. Like they're literally like
Yeah.
deaf and dumb leading the blind
Or
through
a
a
new-
forest
They
of
have
like
to bring a
problems.
Or a
Zelda
new
back.
Mario game, like not Mario Co-op Brothers, but Mario like straight up Sunshine Galaxy Mario.
What about a Luigi?
Sunshine,
Super
Sunshine.
Luigi.
Yeah.
Nobody
Sunshine.
cares about
I
Luigi.
love
Okay,
Luigi.
if it's an actual
It's
like
about
game with
Luigi.
Luigi.
Thank you.
It is.
It is the year of Luigi.
Luigi
he jumps
Brothers.
and runs funny, like in Galaxy.
That's what's awesome about him.
His head
No,
is back.
so
His head is back.
Because you'd be
No,
like,
that's so cool. He's like woohoo.
no, but actually his controls were actually different.
Oh
He
yeah,
would-
well it's because he slides.
yeah,
he has more
slides.
of a slide.
In
Luigi-
a platformer
Luigi has his
as
head back and Mario has his head down.
But in a
It's just so,
platformer
like,
that's
it totally represents the two thoughts of both those characters.
it's as difficult as Galaxies. I don't want a character that slides.
No, I agree
because
with
you
you.
need
In Galaxy,
precise jumping and running in,
in Galaxy he
Yeah,
has a
you do.
higher jump, but I agree he slides, so it makes it
Yes.
very hard.
He'd slide right off the damn
Not
platform.
as precise,
It's
but
good.
Stupid
I do want to
Luigi.
read off that Deanne LeDuc on the chat says that her boyfriend is really excited for Dark Souls. Your boyfriend's amazing. Had to say that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to.
You're setting yourself up for like a huge disappointment.
No.
You know, actually, the series creator is not on Dark Souls 2. They took him off of it because they want to make it more mainstream. So there is a chance I will be disappointed by it, but I guess I'll find out. I'll find out.
I hope you won't. I hope.
But I've loved From Software since their first title, Kingsfield. I've loved from Kingsfield series, Armored Core, and now the Dark Souls series. So I can't imagine it being a game I don't at least highly enjoy.
Watch her get the Dark Souls 3 and like there's a choice where you have to choose from 3 different colored endings. Then you're going to be really different.
Grant, I am inches from muting your mic. Seriously.
So Nintendo, I'm excited for Nintendo as well, though, because I mean, I love Nintendo, and I do have a Wii U, so I do want to see what games they have to announce, and I want to see new Smash Brothers, which they said they're announcing, so I want to see what that's going to be, because I've always loved that franchise. And you can say what you want about Nintendo and their strategy not being as good.
Frequently do.
You can say, and you do, but at the same time, you have to admit that their games are always good. They still release consistently high-quality games.
I was trying to think.
Other than, I mean, New Super Mario Brothers U honestly wasn't that great to me, but I mean, in general though, when there's the big titles by them, they are a title that you're going to want to get. And not that Sony's exclusives haven't been either, or Microsoft's, but Nintendo tends to release more.
Curtis is saying he predicts that during Microsoft or Sony press conference, the new trailer for Resident Evil 7 will be shown, and I say no, it will not.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's way too soon, and they're not. I don't think they're ready to do a new Resident Evil after their bomb.
Yeah, that was really
the last year for Resident Evil has been like they were like they were furiously masturbating and then just like it just didn't work.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
I think at this point too, it's going to be 3 years before you see any games come out of Japanese developers, because it seems like they're so far just
Evil Within
everybody
is
else.
Hideki Kojima. I think is the one the series head for Evil Within, which was Resident Evil. I think Hideki's the right guy.
I think so.
But
regardless
though, Evil Within is a Japanese developer.
The Evil Within looks good, and it could be good, but I'm actually nervous about it because it's done by a Resident Evil guy.
Yeah, but he did Resident Evil 1 through 4.
Yeah,
so.
which those were good.
The Evil Within.
But are they good?
I don't know if he did 5.
I don't know, but they were good for that time. Are they good enough to stand up to today's standards of survival horror?
I still love Resident Evil 4 if you go back and play it.
It's good, but it's good because you've played it before and you have that nostalgia. But if you try to play it without ever having played it before, it just doesn't do anything.
In defense, I don't think modern survival horror has actually really been survival horror. It's been action horror.
Because Dead Space killed it. I blame Dead Space.
Resident Evil 4 killed it.
No, Dead Space.
I love Dead Space.
Resident Evil 4
Dead Space was not survival horror.
Yeah, well, Resident Evil 4
started it by sucking.
No, well, Resident Evil 4 started the trend of being more action-oriented, and at the time it was awesome, but
Dead Space made it mainstream. It was Dead Space's fault. I blame everything on Dead Space.
Okay, so here's Hayden on the chat says, "Oh my God, a new Deus Ex and Fallout 4. I might just experience mini strokes." The thing about Fallout 4 is they might announce it, but I don't know about you guys. I haven't heard anything. I haven't got anything from Bethesda, who I'm doing an interview tour with, or maybe I just didn't get the exclusive invite. I don't know.
Be the super surprise.
That would be awesome. But as far as Deus Ex goes, I would love them to announce a new Deus Ex because that was one of my favorite games of 2011. But they just announced a new Deus Ex for mobile, so you have to wonder, and I'm curious what you guys think. Are they going to announce a new console Deus Ex, or was the announcement just the mobile one?
That can incorporate the new mobile game.
Ooh,
yeah.
Very cool. But do you think we're going to see a Deus Ex announcement or not?
I would think so, because there's been that one that's been rumored for a little while now.
But Square Enix hasn't, I don't know what you've been getting, but Square Enix hasn't been saying anything about it.
There was that one that's been rumored for a little while.
But that could have been the one that's on the mobile platforms. That could be the rumored one.
They developed Deus Ex to be like to meld with the next chapter in that episode. Like they didn't develop that game as like a one-off. Like if they came out with like a follow-up to Deus Ex Human Revolution, I would not be surprised.
But remember, this is Square, so what they're probably going to do is take the original game, which is a great concept, and ruin it. Because
like
that's what they've done
Deus
with
Ex Combat or
every
something,
game this generation.
or Dissidia or something like that.
I grew up I would literally buy a game if it just said Square on it. That's how I picked up some of my favorite games, like Xenogears and things like that.
Yeah.
Would have
Great
never
game.
picked them up, but it said Square on it, bought it.
Yeah.
This generation,
I didn't buy
that company's
Deus
made me
Ex because
lose
it
faith
said.
Oh, I
completely,
totally
you know.
agree with you.
I didn't buy Deus
Totally
Ex
agree.
because it said Square Enix on it, though.
Well, I bought Deus
I
Ex
just to put
because
that out there. I just knew the property from before.
Yeah, and
I
so in
bought
that
it.
sense, it's really not a pure Square game as in
on
Final
top of
Fantasy
that,
or
like,
something like
It was
that.
more. It was an Enix game.
On
but
top of that, like Tomb
I bought
Raider.
Deus Ex because I
Did you
saw
buy
it at
Tomb
E3
Raider
and it
because
looked
it said
amazing.
Square Enix on it?
Because it looked amazing at E3 again.
Yeah.
Those are the reasons I got those two games.
I really want to see what the JRPGs are going to look like.
But they are having a big Final Fantasy announcement
But
at
there's nothing
E3.
left.
But I'm hoping maybe
Yeah,
there might be
I mean,
something.
There was there's been a couple of Wii titles that have been coming out.
I'm just
Yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles was really good, which came out to America last year. Came out to
America.
Japan a couple of years ago, but they're starting to get ported over. Not the last story, I think. That's another one. But
Yes.
there've been a couple good ones. It's just hard to. I mean, think about it. Here's the issue with RPGs on a modern console: is if you want it to look good, that is so insanely expensive because you have giant towns that you're constantly going
Yeah.
to, and you
See,
really
I don't need it to
have to
look
sell out of the
good.
world. I don't either.
don't.
I don't either, but they're trying to appeal to a modern audience, and it's hard to entice new audiences without it looking as good as modern generation
But
games.
I guess think of it this way: when Final Fantasy X came out on the PS2, it was mind-blowingly good, both
Right.
in terms of I think a game, but in terms of graphics, it was
How far
visually
it pushed
you looked at
that,
the system.
that console, yeah.
And I feel like if they could maintain their sales then with the cost, they can equally do the same now. Yes, costs have gotten higher,
Well,
but
if-
there's more gamers. I think the
if 13
issue,
had done better, and if it was a better game,
well, I think the
then-
problem is the reason every single Japanese companies, their games and franchises are declining is the minute all of them decided we need to westernize these games. And the reason I played a JRPG is because it was a JRPG, not
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was like
You could play game after game of American content and then depressurize on the JRPGs.
And so
Real
I
quick
think-
note:
Yeah.
Square Enix didn't develop Deus Ex; they published it.
Yeah, but I'm
Eidos
just like-
Montreal
Yeah,
developed
yeah.
it.
No,
Yeah,
I
thank
agree,
you.
yeah.
And so I think that's the same thing that happened with Resident Evil. It's the same thing that's happening with Final Fantasy and everything
That's
else.
like
The minute they
vein
want to
in my head.
westernize it, it's no longer the series that you actually
Yeah, well,
cared for.
Final
Right.
Fantasy feels a lot different than it did back.
The new Final
It's very
Fantasy.
different.
Only reason I played it through is to say I've played every single Final Fantasy game through and beat it, but I cried the entire way. I was like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
until Final Fantasy 12, and I just lost interest at
I don't
12.
like Final
Yep.
Fantasy at all.
me, it
I
started
loved
off-
them up until 12. I loved all of them.
Not
6 is
even
one of
like
my
the
favorite
new-
titles of
the
all time.
Way back. Oh my goodness.
Nope. Everybody was playing 7, and
6
it's
is
like,
better, though.
I'll try 7
4's
because
the best.
everybody else is. The only thing I liked about it is because I could name my characters, so I would name them my friends,
I think you would like 10.
and that was it.
Final Fantasy 6 was my
I played
favorite.
the first one with the 3 chicks in it.
Did you
I didn't
cry?
like it.
What?
Final Fantasy 6, did you
That's
cry?
Oh, that's
10
Final
too,
Fantasy
right?
10-2 is that one. With the 3 chicks.
All right, the best thing you
Three
can say
Chicks
about
is a
10-2
diversion.
is that it happened. It certainly happened. It was most certainly there. And
No, the
that's
best thing you can say
best
about it
thing
is
you can
more
say about
Riku.
it.
That's the best thing you can say about it.
No. You wanted her to
Riku's
die
like
by
a
the end of the
cow,
game. It took a character that you could stand from 10 because, let's face it, most of them I just kind of wanted to slowly put out of their own misery.
What are you trying to
But-
say about Titus?
Pillow. Pillow.
I'm saying, like, when Titus opened his mouth in the first 5 minutes, I was like, this guy's not my fucking main character, is he?
Thanks for dropping that
And
bomb
10
down.
hours later.
You're welcome.
Way to go. Yeah, I mean, it was all about Orin, let's be honest. But they are having a big Final Fantasy announcement at E3, which I believe is Tuesday morning. So they're talking about the future of the franchise and what they're going to do. So
Final
I'm
Fantasy
hoping as a
MMO4.
former fan that they're going to do something that's not an MMO. And
They
that
need to
they're
get
gonna-
out of that.
And
They-
what the hell? Final Fantasy 13 Cross. Or Versus. I mean, Final Fantasy 13 Versus. Where are you?
It disappears.
Where are you?
Here's what they're gonna do. Like the Sony press conference, they're gonna get on stage and show you a 2-year-old trailer and wait for you to be amazed. And
And be
you're
like,
wait,
is your mind blown?
yeah.
Yeah, they
Look,
have
it's
that
last-gen
trailer.
graphics, so-
They have that trailer from that that unnamed RPG that they showed, and they probably will just expand upon that trailer and
Yeah,
show a little
it's
bit
like-
more of the story.
If Square Enix wanted to blow my mind, they'd announce a new Secret of Mana. That's what
I want new Uncharted.
Wow.
I'm sure you're gonna get that.
What she
I
just
need
said.
it.
If I even see that logo on stage,
I
I
will-
will run
They're
around.
They're gonna do it. I would say that they would do at least
don't-
that.
yeah.
Show a logo
To
and be
me, it
like,
would,
have.
the conference would be over.
Just-
I'd be happy if like that got announced. I'm gonna
I
go
know.
home now.
All
Run
I'd
around
have
and
to
pass
do
out.
is hear the theme song, and I will melt in my seat and cry.
What if Nolan North?
So your
came out
head is,
to
your
announce that?
brain is melting. She's melting in her seat. Dave's probably gonna melt if he gets to interview the Dark Souls.
I am
2
interviewing
people.
him.
So, but I'm just guessing by probably like day 2 or 3, I'm gonna be the only one out of this room of people
Not melting.
not melted. I'm gonna be walking around just fine.
So yeah, I won't even be here because I will literally have melted.
I know.
Wicked Witch of the West out.
Here.
If you want to, instead of throwing water on me, you give me Dark Souls 2 and I just melt. Yes, that's a Wizard of Oz reference. But with that Wizard of Oz reference, let's talk about some quick hit news stories.
No place
Yeah.
So first thing, we've been talking about Shadow of the Eternals a lot because a lot of us were big fans
I
of
want it
Eternal
to
Darkness.
freaking happen.
And I want it to happen too. But they've announced that the Kickstarter is getting a do-over. And the reason for the suspension is, quote, a host of new exciting opportunities that will make the game better than we envisioned, according to CEO Paul Caparici. So basically, they're saying that new opportunities have come from this Kickstarter that is way underfunded, and they're basically doing a do-over.
They're
New
making
and
me
exciting
lose.
opportunities
They're
have
making me
arisen.
lose my belief in them
But
that they can
isn't
do
it what
this.
happened? The Kickstarter was technically in another country. They didn't meet their goals, and when you don't, you have to cancel it
Yeah.
and restart it. And I think now they're restarting the Kickstarter in the U.S. where they assume they have more fans. I think that's what the full.
Well, they haven't really said exactly why it is yet that they're doing it, but
I think I've seen
they're
a
saying
lot
there's
of
new exciting
confusion
opportunities that
between-
came,
Right.
and they actually canceled us 16 days before it was supposed to end. So
Last
still
year-
16 days to go.
Last year, Kickstarter opened their UK portal. I've actually seen a lot of confusion between the UK started Kickstarters because the prices don't tend to match up. Technically, people in Europe and the United Kingdom can do the conversion a little bit better, and it doesn't daunt them as much. For Americans, it seems as though like doing that conversion and turning that £8 into like, you know, $12, $13 like shocks us. So I think that if they do start it in the United States or they do it on the
But
US
it's-
Kickstarter,
Grant,
it'll
it's
be a little
math.
bit easier. I know, but still.
So Lions fan on the chat says, "What a crock! The Kickstarter game must have sucked in the market, and they want to fix it and re-release it and get a profit for the game."
I think that they're going to kill off the episodes. No one believes that they're going to develop one episode for
I don't want
$1.35 million.
episodic Eternal
Yeah,
Darkness.
Yeah, they're
roll
going to
that
kill off the episodes, or
goal.
they're going to roll it back down to like something. Okay, yeah, we'll do 2 stories, or we'll do 4 stories. But I like the quotes that come out of it. It's like a new and exciting opportunity has arisen that will make the game better than we envisioned. Just think about that for a minute.
It could mean anything.
Something
Right, it
popped
could be
up.
anything.
Something popped up that we didn't anticipate that's going to make it even better. What kind of
So we're
company has
canceling
that
the
kind of luck?
Kickstarter.
Yeah.
What kind of company has that luck? Did anybody go like, oh, we found a huge sack of $1 million bills in the back room?
I mean,
no
never
one
know.
has that
Maybe a
luck.
publisher did come to them.
Nothing
Maybe
happened.
a publisher did come to them, but I agree with you. I don't think anything happened. And I just had a random thought about what I would love to see at E3. I would love to see Sony come out and say, we're supporting rentals and used games and everything that Xbox One isn't, and then they do a mic bomb.
That would be crazy.
That's all I want is I want to see them do a mic bomb.
conference
That would be
over.
crazy,
Now,
yes.
here's
Bam.
the thing: a Sony exec has gone on record and said that the PS4 won't have any DRM on it.
But I
Right.
said that they can
they've
flip the
been-
switch.
Wait, they're not having any Death
Yeah,
Ray
I think
Mana on
they
it?
can.
Is that?
They both companies have the ability to flip the switch. Like Xbox has said, we're checking with the retailers. We're checking with our partners to see how we're going to handle used game sales. They're at least mature enough to come out and say, we've built the technology into the console. We're still seeing if we're going to implement it. PlayStation built the shit into their consoles. They've put their consumers at risk, but they're not going to tell their consumers about it.
Well,
But
regardless,
you don't know
though.
that, though. We don't know
Right,
that.
we just don't
Everything
know.
about the PS3
You're
has said
speculating
that,
all of this.
Okay, like the security holes and how my PS3 account and my PSN account got hacked. They prefer to not let their consumers know how their personal information is affected, how their purchases are affected by their company-wide mandates, or how their technology works, or what kind of like information they collect, and then they'll tell about you when it pisses you
Look,
off.
I mean, I agree with you. They're probably doing that, but again, that's all speculation. We don't know. But we do need to move on to the next story. I didn't mean to start that. I just thought it'd be amazing to see him. I really just wanted to see a mic bomb at E3.
Yeah.
That's all I was trying to throw out there. But we have the Zynga, and I will drop this word. We have a Zynga shitstorm because it's very palpable. It's very, that's the word to use here. Basically, they have laid off 520 employees, including OMG Pop, who may draw something, if you don't realize, for mobile platforms for iOS and other platforms. So they actually bought Draw Something, I believe, or the company OMG Pop for
$200 million.
yeah, $200 million.
Yeah, those
And
developers are happy.
That was 8 months ago that they bought that. So, I mean, again, and we have just everyone from OMG Pop completely trashing Zynga, saying they run company terribly. All they
I
did
can
was sit
imagine
around
that.
doing nothing. And that they were just supposed to copy other games that were already made, so no innovation out of Zynga. So basically things we already knew about Zynga.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that gets lost a lot of times when you hear about layoffs and everything, and sometimes you hear, you know, oh, X and Y studio laid off a bunch of people, and let's say you don't like their game, so you see fans start saying, oh, well, I'm glad, you know, they closed the studio, and I'm glad they did this and that. And I think the thing that really gets lost in the middle of all that is that those are people's lives.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So many people's lives get ruined. These people have bills to pay, they have families, and I think a lot of time that gets lost completely in the conversation that that's a lot of people to suddenly not have
I'm not
a job
saying that I know better than, like, let's say a developer or a person who's working in the industry.
But you do.
But I would have been a little bit trepidatious about being hired by that company in the first place.
Well, I mean, look at the buyout,
if someone bought up, if that company bought up my studio, I would have been looking for another job, regardless of how good the pay is, because they are a risky property to work for. And just by my observation in the industry, if every game they produce is crap, and if they continue to recycle the same shit, I'm not going to continue working for them.
Yeah, but I think the issue is
I can't make a big difference
not everybody
as the
has
developer.
a real say of where they want to work.
Right.
I mean, you're not a top developer where you can be like, you know what, you don't like me,
That's
I'll
true.
float. So many people are just the basic artist, the UI designer, the sound engineer, who's
People are
getting
just happy
paid
to have a job.
$10, $12 an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
And so for him, it's kind of like, great, these guys are going to pay my bill. That's where I'll
Right,
be.
and they're doing what they want to be doing. Their bills being paid, and maybe they don't like the company that they're now working for, the transition. But it's not like they can just suddenly say, like, look, jobs are closing. The job market's hard in every industry.
Especially in the game industry
yeah,
now. I mean, studios are closing left and right. It seems like every week it's like, oh, this layoff here, that studio closed, this visual effects department's gone.
And as far as OMG Pop is concerned, the execs, I mean, obviously they saw Zynga paid $183 million to buy the company. So, I mean, you're an exec at OMG Pop, you're like, $183 million? Okay, I'll take that.
And even more to the point, they actually upped all their executive salaries a couple months ago.
Oh, yeah, they did. Oh, Zynga did. Not OMG Pop. Zynga did. Zynga upped all their exec salaries and fired everybody.
I wonder if that links over to the OMG Pop presidents and stuff like that.
I will put this out there. If anybody wants to buy Sony Rumors, I will let you. $50 million. I'll take it. I will be very happy. I'll sign the contract.
Yeah,
all the
just
rights
come up with something new.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing about OMG Pop is apparently they were actually partying after this happened, and they not just drinking, they said partying. I mean, maybe they were just drinking away their sorrows, but they called it partying and that they're excited and happy that they don't have to deal with Zynga anymore.
Yeah, they can just reboot their, reboot. That's my theme for today. They can literally reboot their business. They can go back to being the bootstrap company that made them successful in the first place. They can make a new mobile game in a year on money that they have left over from the purchase, and they can basically leave and make a better company than what Zynga is organized under them.
They can, but sorry, I'm just trying to move along now.
No,
so Amazon, so mobile games have been doing well. Another thing that's been doing well have been indie games have been exploding with things like Steam, especially their Steam sales. I mean, we've seen how many on bottles now? I think they're on their 8th. That always do incredibly well. This is the most successful one yet. XBLA, PSN, indie's becoming a big deal. Amazon is jumping on it with their own indie gaming store now, where they're going to be promoting and selling indie games through Amazon.
I think that's a great idea. I really do.
But see, my point is, do we need another portal? Especially if Amazon is technically Android anyways, all it is a forked version of Android. Do we need another store within a store? And especially within the Kindle experience, it's not like you're part of the whole Android ecosystem anyways. You're already a very small subcategory of that. So for developers, it might make sense because I imagine Amazon's, making it lucrative for them to
I mean, you put
develop,
a little highlight section, like this is our new indie title.
Exactly, but end of the day, how many people are you really reaching by going in that as opposed to being in the overall Android market or in the overall iOS market?
Right.
I will give them credit. They've come late to the game with a number of their different, now key portions of their business, like the video on demand. They are beating, in some areas, Netflix at their own game that they started. They've gone to some of these hard to deal with publishers and broadcasters and media companies, and they've been able to negotiate comparable deals. They have a huge cash pile behind them, backing them up, and they have the largest, consumer store on the internet as
Netflix
well.
has suck-ass movies.
Amazon has such a broad range of people that it'll bring in more people that I think it will help them out. So.
Yeah.
Bring in the people.
I mean, I think why not? I mean, to me, it's just like, all right, this is something. It probably doesn't cost them anything to put up a section that says the indie section on their website and just feature a series of
and
indie
they don't
games.
have to like stock it in their warehouse.
Right, it's not like they have to do anything, so why not?
But I guess, do we know, are the games exclusive to that store?
No,
probably not.
Or is it just really a highlighting
No, I mean, like,
section?
they're going to have a Double Fine bundle that's going to, for $10, that's going to feature Brutal Legend, Costume Quest, Iron Brigade, Psychonauts, Stacking, and The Cave. For $10
Stacking
for all
was
those games.
so good.
Yeah, Stacking was a lot of
Brutal
fun.
Legend.
This is gonna be
So
like
was
a
Costume Quest.
long-term-
Costume Quest was really well written.
I didn't like that as much. It was buggy as hell for me.
Yeah, it was a little buggy, but I
then
just think
again,
the writing was fun.
Double
I like the
Fine
writing.
games have always been some of the more buggier ones.
But again, these are all games that have already come out. They're just basically highlighting it and having so you can buy from their store.
Okay.
But another thing is Steam. We're finding out a little bit of update about Greenlight, which is this one company whose name I'm trying to look up, but they made a title called Paranautical Activity, which was on Greenlight. It was doing all right, and then they got an offer from Adult Swim to be a producer on the game and publish the game, but still keep it on Greenlight. And then after that happened, and Adult Swim approached Valve about it, Valve kicked Paranautical Activity off of Greenlight and said you had to restart, and aren't letting them start it, and they just basically have to start all over again without Adult Swim support.
I talked to you about this during the week. I actually think that what Steam did is really like they did exactly what they should have done as a company. Because like if you're a producer or a publisher or a venue for these games and you're going to give them like a lot of space, advertisement, traffic, and all this other stuff, because another company comes along and gives a better publishing deal or decides to like take it away or pay to take that game out from under Steam, why not kick them back to zero on your own platform?
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with it. It's just more of a harsh reality for
I think
the guys who made the game.
What it really outlines is that Steam Greenlight is not as indie as what people had originally thought.
Well, sure, they want to make a buck off of it.
But now their game is getting a lot of press from all this too, so
it's doing them good.
It's good for them.
It's good for them.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be because you're right. Now their game. I mean, I'd never heard of Paranautical Activity until this happened.
Codeverse is the developer.
Another story that we're getting in is we get a lot of research studies about all these horrible things, and usually they're bad studies that are done poorly about how games are bad for you. Well, this was a research study that took place over the course of 5 years from Dr. Kathy Sanford at University of Victoria in British Columbia. And her findings, she wasn't even a gamer when she did these. This was just an outside perspective, who did a study on gamers, and she found that it actually better prepares you for real life by playing games and gives you a lot of good problem-solving techniques because as opposed to a passive activity like TV, you're constantly thinking and being active in the video game. So basically, gaming is a gateway drug to being awesome. That is the point.
I think we're proof of that already. All she had to do for her study was walk in the door and been like, yep.
Better yet, if there's ever a zombie apocalypse, I'm going to your house.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I have so many video game weapons.
You have so many plastic replica weapons?
The replica weapons will get to work somehow.
Well, zombies are dumb, so I'll admit that.
Those blades of chaos are very sharp. They could do some big damage.
What was the other one
some of them do look like actual
the
weapons.
Darksider's sword.
Yeah, the swords are actual weapons.
That thing is
it's more just
heavy.
the replica guns that don't do anything, but the replica like iron weapons and stuff.
Realistic lighting and sound effects.
Yeah, I have Thor's hammer, and if you got hit in the head with that thing, it would squash your brain.
Oh, that's
that
amazing.
Thing is so heavy. You're like, ah.
Yeah. Yup.
We gotta just start training now. Train right now.
Thor's hammer.
But they did find actual awesome stuff that it was doing. Like for certain things, they found someone who played Guild Wars 2s a lot, who started a guild in Guild Wars 2. And they found in real life, this was a kid, and they were studying 13 to 16-year-olds or 13 to 17-year-olds. This kid had gotten still this like Rachel, this kid had gotten better leadership skills by playing Guild Wars 2, by being in the guild, and that people were trying to, by playing these games, they were thinking more about empathy for other people, what I do, how's this going to affect somebody else, and then even just playing in someone else's shoes as another character in a video game gives you more empathy for different perspectives. And for certain games, sometimes it would make someone interested in the lore of Dark Souls, for example. And then that person would get more interested in the lore or history of real life. And
for anybody on the chat, start doing a running tally of how many times Dave or I references Dark Souls. If it gets to 100, you win a prize.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You win the $20 bet that I'm going to take from you. John.
So
I got a $20 bet too.
another gaming moment of the week, something that is also good for all of us, is there's a gamification is happening everywhere.
Gamification.
And the new gamification game is teaching women that they need to masturbate more and how to masturbate better.
Wait, did we
what?
just go
Why
to
not?
the? Did we go to the quick hits?
This is a quick hit. We've
Oh,
been on quick hits for a long
the
time.
end of the quick hits.
Yeah.
Isn't that what a masturbation is?
Who's to
a good
tell?
one.
Who's to tell that they're doing it wrong?
Apparently this is. Well, they're basically saying that not enough women are masturbating once a month.
How do they
From
get
studies.
these statistics?
But here's
Like,
the statistic. I don't know.
But what does it matter? How many? Like, I don't understand why this matters.
Well, the other question is, like, if you're in a committed relationship, you would think that you're probably not masturbating
Yeah.
as much. So
that's not true.
unless you're Kaori.
Then you are with the wrong man.
Yeah.
But let's all go down here. Meet Happy.
Yes,
This is
that's
your.
the
I can't quite tell what that looks like.
Their mascot.
I don't know.
Yeah. What is their mascot? What could it
That
possibly be?
looks a little bit familiar.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
This is Kotaku for you.
I was like, wait, is the baby masturbating? Like,
I
what's
know.
going on here?
I'll never view it the same again.
So another
a little
quick
sick
hit.
to my stomach.
Another quick hit story. Metal Gear has come out. They're replacing the voice actor with Kiefer Sutherland.
Metal Gear 24.
That's so
what's so
random.
Year
What's
24.
so boo about it, though?
Well, I have a couple problems with it.
Okay.
You can go on
Okay,
ahead.
I have a rant about this.
Okay, rant.
Hideo Kojima said that the reason they're doing this is they want to move the series in a new direction, which I have no problem with. From time to time, you got to change your game, and if that's what you need to do, that's perfectly fine. But if the game is still taking place in the same universe as Metal Gear, is really changing your voice actor going to fix what was potentially wrong with your series?
No.
If the answer is no, then why change the voice actor? It seems like it's changing him for the sake of we're just throwing things out, so we might as well throw that part out of it too. But it really doesn't make any sense. And equally, if Metal Gear 5 is technically a prequel and it takes place before all those games, for someone to start playing through those games, I think that consistency then is nice if the voice actor is equally the same. It's been David for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Why not continue to keep him? Again, if he was somehow a creative control on the series and he was causing something to be wrong with the series, it makes more sense. But if he's just a voice actor, it's as if in Uncharted they suddenly said, you know what, Nolan, we don't need you anymore. We want to go in another direction. Well, if it's still the same series, then it still needs to be Nolan. If you're completely rebooting it, then okay, great. It's really another universe, a parallel timeline.
Right.
However, what
And
you
if
wanna
they saw
call
this
it.
coming far enough in advance, they could have rebooted it.
Right.
And
So
here's
this kind of stinks. It stinks from the fact that like maybe they were in negotiations and negotiations went sour.
And-
Like they just couldn't afford to pay him what he probably deserved after 10
Yeah,
years of
and
doing it.
here's my other issue with it too is that I feel like a lot of celebrities are taking over voice actors' jobs when voice actors are really good at what they
Yeah.
do, and that is their career. They don't do acting on camera, but they try to focus on voice
To
acting.
be fair, Kiefer
And-
has done voice acting before.
but still, I mean, to me, it just sucks to see another voice actor who's just getting
And you know
scooted out
Keith
for a more
wasn't-
famous
was
actor.
a cheap actor to bring on board. So the question is, is anybody really going to say, well, I didn't used to play Metal Gear, but now that I know Keith doesn't, I'm somehow
Comparatively,
going to
though,
buy
actors.
this game?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that actors are more expensive to bring on to do voice acting, but they do have another job waiting for them. So, like, he could probably be. I mean, he could probably be gotten for a little bit less, I think.
You think that they?
I think especially like I think that like longer running characters, longer running voice actors have more of a platform to demand like comparable pay to a voice act to another actor. So I think that like he could probably gotten a little bit cheaper than Kiefer.
So
Or Kiefer could have gotten cheaper than him.
yeah. So before we move on to our gaming moments of the week, which we're doing pretty late this week,
Those are some good quick hits, by the way.
I do want to, we're doing like a lot of quick hits that we're getting to. We got another quick hit I want to talk about real briefly, which is kind of deals with the morality of pirating games. And that has to do with a Russian hacker. And this is us talking, also, we were talking about how the nautical game, we never even heard of the nautical game. I don't know what this is.
There are strange
Oh,
sounds
we're pirating.
in my
I
head.
get it. Okay, we're pirating. I get it now. It took me a while. Thank you, Kaori. So we're pirating.
This is great.
I love
John's been
pirates.
Play the
Amazing.
Pirates
He's been playing
Caribbean
this for like
music.
10 minutes probably.
We should have a
okay.
pirate joke party.
Disneyland.
So nautical. So we're talking about the nautical game though, and how we didn't really know anything about it before this whole issue with Greenlight. So Another game you probably have never heard of, the Dishwasher Vampire Smile, which was an XBLA game, we're now hearing a lot about because a pirate came out.
Is that the same one that just called the Dishwasher?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know there was another.
Yeah, they actually made 2 games.
Oh, okay, yeah, I haven't heard of it.
But it was an XBLA title, and it released in April 2011 for Xbox Live Arcade. And a Russian hacker goes by Barbarous, decided, saying, the author's not very nice to publish the game exclusively for the Xbox 360, making it impossible for PC gamers to play such a great game. On the other hand, and then he goes on to say, given the developer ignores the PC platform, about any loss of profit for them is not out of the question. After all, if they wanted to earn money, then the game would be issued on all available platforms. If the game came out on PC officially, then this thread would not exist. So he went ahead, hacked the game, made it available for free on PC, and said, quote, "This is not piracy. This is restoration of justice."
Wow.
What?
I was talking to you earlier in the week, and I
justify stealing a game.
I said the only way that it would be justifiable for me is if he took donations and then gave those donations directly to the developer.
Yeah.
Because then it would be like showing the developer, oh, you don't think you can sell it on PC, but look what I'm doing. I am selling it for you on the PC. So it would be kind of showing them how they're doing something wrong. But this way, it still seems like, oh, he's kind of still doing something immoral.
It's the same justification. If you guys remember, mid last week, Dust 514, they got completely hacked, and their servers were taken out for a few days. And the hackers' claims were, because you're not on other consoles and this is a PS4 or PS3 exclusive as of right now, this is us teaching you a lesson of how dare you not release it on.
Eve has such a huge PC fan base. Like, the fact that they're coming to the PS3 was like, the Dust was coming to the PS3 pissed off, I think, a lot.
But
and like honestly, it's like if you had one game that you knew that that hackers played constantly, it would probably be Eve.
But
so you're pissing off your
there are exclusivity contracts that are in
Plus, my
deal.
point is
right, which is part of why they make money.
I don't think we, as the community, have any right to make that decision.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And this is such a huge thing with maybe just this current generation that we're part of. Is this such a deal of entitlement? Someone. I mean, if no one has this. Maybe people don't have empathy who play video games.
Exclusivity is a form of entitlement.
No, yeah, I agree. I think the game industry is getting pretty piss poor.
It's pretty insane though, because it's just like, if you make something that you work 2 years on, this is multiple people working years on developing a game that they work and put all their time into. Why should you be allowed to have it for free? Like, why? Think about yourself putting your entire life on hold for 2 years and making something, and everyone decides that they're not going to pay you for it.
That's why I said
and you don't get any money for
take
it.
donations and then then give it to the developer. It's like it's a little bit more. It's more of a weak point to stand on if you're not actually giving it to the developer.
They do have a sense of entitlement, though. I mean, what happened with Mass Effect? People didn't get the ending they want, and they bitched about it, and they formed groups to go against BioWare, and they sent them. It was just awful, and it's like, really, people? Do we really have to act this way?
I kind of
just
unfollowed
ridiculous.
the writer after
and I
that
think
as
when
well.
it comes to pirating, the example that I always use is, are you the type of person who would walk into a Best Buy, put a copy in your purse, in your pocket, walk out?
No.
Because pirating is the same thing, but a lot of people don't see it like that because it's happening anonymously to a degree, or it's doing it with 2 clicks
and because there's no physical copy either.
Right, you feel like, oh, well, I'm not really stealing, but you're really doing the same thing. You're just getting a digital version of it, but
I think this guy,
is the same.
Not to recycle what I've said before, but I'm probably going to do it anyway. I still think this guy could have done a solid by taking some donations and giving it to the developer. He would have established a new precedence in saying, I'm not doing this for personal gain. I'm not doing this to make a statement that hurts the developer. I'm just doing it to show how their poor decisions weren't actually necessary.
Did they sue him? I would have sued the living poop out of that kid.
His name is Barbarous. I assume he's working under an alias.
No, I mean, you kind of have multiple reactions from them. James Sylvia said, quote, "I'm flattered that there's this much interest in Vampire Smile on PC. I'm not mad about the crack itself. In fact, I'm actually pretty impressed. But I'm bewildered by the cracker's attempt to justify the morality of it. He assumes a lot about why Vampire Smile is not on PC yet, and he could have cleared up a lot of those assumptions by just emailing me. I get that piracy is a service problem, but that's a consequence, not a justification." And then his wife, who is his partner, Michelle Jewett Sylvia, says, "In my opinion, calling the developer is like calling the guy selling stereos out of the back of his car the product designer." So I'm basically, she completely disagrees and hates this guy, but she's not going the PC route of answering it. But they are now releasing it because of this interest on PC, and they're going to. But it's kind of just he actually came out and said that the reason why was because they just didn't have time to code it for PC because it takes so much time and more so than people realize.
Well, I think, and that's the thing we need to understand about exclusivity. Is with something like Dust, 514, for all we know, if Sony hadn't stepped in and said, you know what, usually with exclusive 2, Sony will fork them some money towards the development.
And they did.
And for all we know, if that would have never happened, maybe that game would have never happened. So, I mean, we never really know what's going on and what the reasons are behind developers choosing,
They should
one
be
side
really
and the
cut
other.
and dry with their fans, though. CCP is the kind of company that could have said that, and they could have said that, and they could be a little bit more clear about when or if it's coming to the PC, and I think the PC fans would have been a little bit more understanding.
So ADV underscores a fan on the chat says, he doesn't think it's immoral. If publishers, developers can't make gamers happy, gamers will make themselves, and hopefully in a way to spin in the face of the publishers, developers. Look, I mean, if you don't like a game, then don't buy it. That's all you have to do to show that you don't like it. And if you want a game that's not out on your system, you're not entitled to have it. You really aren't, and that is stealing. I don't understand how you can justify it.
Stealing is a lazy way of saying that you're spitting in the face of the developers. Like I said,
You're justifying it for yourself.
You're basically justifying your own like hurtful
Selfishness.
thing and selfishness. You could do something that's more proactive and more like displaying of your unhappiness.
Again, think about any job you work, any job. It doesn't matter what it is. Say you work at Best Buy. Say you work serving at a restaurant, and you work there for a year, and they decide, you know what? Actually, we decide we're not paying you for an entire year of working there.
That's
like what this is doing. That's the equivalent of it. Is you working for an entire year at any job, and someone deciding they're not going to pay you for a year's worth of work. Or years worth of work. I don't understand how you can justify it at all, and I'm so mad that I want to go on to a happier topic.
Yeah. So let us move on.
Let's move on to some gaming moments of the week, which is the best topics of the week. And we're gonna start randomly with Grant because I want to switch it up.
Okay, I'll give John a second to pull up my still because it's immediately it does relate to my game mode of the week, but still my game mode of the week is a little bit old. I started recently playing Minecraft again because Rachel's been bragging about it so much. I recently have been playing it instead of Remember Me and Grid 2, which I've been playing. I just play this when I get home and when I'm done writing. The other night, I basically hacked through a wall with my pick, and I just entered this huge cave directly underneath my house, and it was absolutely huge. When I say huge, I've played Minecraft before. This is bigger than anything. It's bigger than anything I've ever seen.
Or a ravine.
And I felt like Batman or Bruce Wayne finding that cavern underneath his house. So I brought up this picture to show you guys how I felt.
Yeah,
I
I love
definitely felt
Minecraft.
like that Bruce Wayne when I found that.
Minecraft. Have you stared the Enderman in the face yet?
I have, and they're kicking my ass.
I know,
Thank you for
because you're
trying
not
to get me
supposed to stare
killed.
them.
Thank you. I asked you
just
for a
thought
little
it
bit.
was funny.
Asked you for a little bit of help.
He asked for some advice, so I instantly said, yeah, you know those really tall guys with the purple? Just go stare them in the eyes. They love that. And that's when it gets scary and they chase you.
Yeah, they start screaming. Oh God, it's freaky.
I giggled to myself when I texted you that. I was like,
Rachel, I believe you deserve this.
I bring up the soundboard. Click it.
Hold on.
Click it.
Totally Darth Vader.
Yeah, pretty. She's also wearing black right now,
I am.
like Darth Vader.
I'm representing my game of the week.
Yeah, so Rachel, why don't you talk on that? Your game of the week, gaming moment of the week.
My gaming moment of the week, after Darth Vader is done, is, of course, The Last of Us. Don't worry, I'm not going to have any spoilers. Just that it is freaking amazing. It's completely awesome. And the first 15 minutes is basically The Last of Us going, hey, welcome to The Last of Us, bitches. And then they crotch chop you, and it's amazing.
I like crotch chopping.
It's like, yeah, no, it totally
Kung Fu action.
slaps you in the face, and it's like, this is our game. I got the Pandemic Edition that has both the Ellie and the Joel statue.
Why didn't you straighten the gun? Why didn't you straighten her gun?
Because I didn't. I was so excited. I didn't realize the tip of her gun was bent until I
She
tweeted
tried
it
shooting
out.
something with that.
And then all of
blow
Twitter
up in
was
her
like, the
face.
gun is bent. Yes, it is. And I didn't notice it because I was really
Or
excited.
maybe she can shoot around corners now.
Yeah, maybe.
Exactly.
But it also came with this like
Smart.
really cool cardboard backdrop that you would unfold, and it's like a backdrop for the statue.
Like the Gears of War one? Oh, that one's so good.
It's amazing.
So, and I actually, from you talking about it, has made me really want the game really
It is
badly.
brutal. It is intense. It is just. It's really, really good. If you think you're going to be getting Uncharted, you're not even close because this game is just crazy.
When can I get this on the 360?
Never.
Hey, so speaking of console exclusives that aren't Nintendo,
That's right.
non-Nintendo exclusives, Last of Us is one of them. So that's one of Sony's big ones, and along with Uncharted and games like Heavy Rain. So my gaming moment of the week. You might be able to predict what it's about. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Everything this week has been going awesome in Dark Souls for me.
Didn't you post this picture like 3, 4,
Hold on.
5
Let me.
weeks ago?
This is a new picture.
He was topless.
Yeah, I had no shirt on last time.
Hey, he's got a shirt this time.
So this week I finally got the Dark Soul achievement, which means you've gotten every other achievement in the game.
How much was that worth? I can't tell.
40
100
points, I think.
40?
50.
That's it?
That's it.
You
And
got gypped. Let
No,
me tell
look,
you that.
I don't care. I don't care about gamer score of points. I actually usually don't go for achievements in games unless it's
Oh, I
something that
do.
really entices me.
How many hours have you put into it?
But I think I put about 200 hours into Dark Souls.
Should have been worth more. That's all I'm
No,
saying.
it doesn't
100,
matter. But the
at
thing is, it
least
doesn't
100.
matter to me, though. I just liked exploring the game, and the fact that there were a lot of things, like, I hadn't really ever utilized the online functionality that much until there was one achievement I was missing that you needed to, and that finally introduced me to playing co-op and invading people's games.
Didn't you say
and I
that
got
one
really
of the
into
achievements that you had to get the full list involved you having to restart the game and play it from scratch?
Yeah,
again?
well, you have to do the new game plus for me to get one of them. But then this was another I finally got all the achievements. So that was this week. And then, like Grant, I should have been playing a different game. I've been playing Soul Sacrifice that I'm going to be writing up a review on. But instead, I was playing Dark Souls a lot.
Yeah, I've got 2 or 3 games that have been taking a backseat to Minecraft.
But the reason I talk about this, too, is because it leads me to talk about the fact that they just announced this week that they're bringing over Dark Souls Design Works to the U.S. It was an exclusive art book that was only in Japan, which has an interview with Hidetaki Miyazaki, who is the game director on Dark Souls.
I thought you were going to say Hidden Mickeys.
Hidden Mickeys.
That's where my mind went right away.
Some hidden Mickeys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a full 128-page full color art book that was only before in Japan that they announced they're bringing to America. It's $40, but if you go to Amazon right now, you can get it for $28.91 if you reserve it.
And
yes,
if you
I
wanna
like the game that much.
And if you want to figure out if it's a good buy, our good friend Epic Name Bro has an entire video in which he discusses and shows you pictures from the art book.
Yeah,
I just
Epic
thought
Name
you were
Bro
gonna
is
say
the
Epic
authority
Mickey.
on it. And now Epic Mickey. Epic Mickey on the Nintendo Wii by Warren Spector, released to Deus Ex, which is coming out now for iOS, which leads us to... I'm trying to do one of those Jurassic Park style like themes where you just keep on going, making connections that make no sense. Another connection is Kaori over to the left.
Yeah, so I got my gaming moment of the week. It's an alpha version available only on PC. It's Kanye Quest 3030. I know it's really cheesy, but I would totally play this game. It looks like...
Is it related to Kanye West?
I was about to ask the same thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
God.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why, but I would totally play this all day, all night.
But it's locked.
It will. Yeah, it's not moving, but basically it kind of
Who's
has
this
like
cohort? Who does he have
Go
with him?
around.
Final Fantasy-esque world.
My
Humping
question
Kim
is
Kardashian?
Yeah, is Kim Kardashian
Do we
in
get
it?
to impregnate her?
I was gonna ask
in it
that.
yet, but there's Tupac, there's Dre, there's...
I want to see Kimye.
Look at this.
Yeah, it looks like Final Fantasy.
It does, right?
Back full circle here.
What about Taylor Swift?
Right
Is
here.
Taylor Swift a boss
Ice
level?
Cube. Whoa! And it
have to
has
fight
this
him.
rap battle.
Yes.
Oh, you gotta diss him.
And you gotta brag.
Oh my god, this is pretty amazing.
This
Your
is
rap skills are
awesome.
thug life.
Hit him up. Hit him up.
Production skill, brag. He better diss
His
him.
buddy's Tupac right now.
Is
so
this a
him-
joke? Like, did someone actually
You
develop
can
it?
actually play it on PC.
play
not
that.
You know what it looks
That's
like?
Tupac.
Honestly, by the effects of it, it looks like it was made in RPG Maker. That I don't know if anyone has used RPG
Oh,
Maker
yeah.
before.
Tupac is
But
with
this-
you. He's in your crew.
Oh, he's in our
Yeah.
party?
Since you haven't played Final Fantasy before,
Yeah.
these are your people, and then
Yeah.
he is not on it.
Yeah, this was absolutely,
awesome.
100% looks like it was made in RPG Maker.
And then there's
which
like
is
cool music.
Which is fine. I love RPG
I've played
Maker.
with that too.
RPG Maker was my high school tool. I made so many games on it. I made a secret ending that was an hour long. So it was actually longer than the game itself I made.
And you got Eminem.
But yeah, this looks like a fun idea. This is great. All right, so
that wins it right there for me.
that's the end of it. So, Sohrab, do you have a moment of the week for us?
Yes. So, barring The Last of Us, because technically it's not out yet, and assuming God of War is a given, Fuse is the best 2013 game.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
No way. No way.
Yes. No
How
way.
far are you into it?
3 chapters. I just got off the island.
Okay.
But I'll tell you why.
It's still a really long game, and nothing is going to change.
I'm totally okay with that. Let me tell you why. Critics said that the game is kind of generic in terms of design, in terms of there's very little storyline.
Hella repetitive.
I totally agree with that. But here's what Fuse gives you. It's one of the few games that nowadays you can grab 4 of your friends, sit there, and have a really good time shooting up people.
I played with my friends, and we were sitting there going, is this over yet? Is this over yet?
No way. I say it's comparable to GoldenEye on N64.
I mean, it's obviously because
I'm throwing that down.
It's because you weren't playing with Sohrab, apparently.
I'm telling you.
No.
And put it this way, here's who my partner was. It was Allegra, and she barely plays FPSs, and she had a good time. I'm telling you.
You know what it is, Rachel? If you've been playing with Sohrab, apparently you would have been having a fun time. You just have lame friends. That's what we've decided.
No.
If you had better friends.
No. My play crew is the best in the world.
Well, I'm not part of your play crew, and neither is Sohrab, apparently, so not the best play crew.
They can make anything
I'm claiming
happy.
it now. Go buy Fuse. You won't be disappointed.
They didn't make Fuse happy.
Bacon can make anybody happy?
Bacon
I don't like
Bacon can't make anybody happy.
Dogfort in the chat says Fuse is terrible. AKA Hayden. I like calling him Dogfort.
Let's just say it's a controversial game.
I like Dogfort.
I played with Hayden. He was my partner in Fuse, and we did not like it. Borderlands, yeah, Borderlands. Oh, Borderlands is the shit.
Because here's what Fuse gives you, though. What I like about it is it really has that kind of co-op. If you like, I feel like MMORPGs, you kind of like Fuse because you have those different classes of, for example, I'm usually running around as the main guy, so he's more of like a tank. He's got the shield.
I was Dalton.
Yeah, so then you need to rely on your other teammates to, control different parts of the game with different skills. And I think, to me, that's way more fun than just Call of Duty of, okay, everybody gets an AK, run around, shoot people. It does add that
really like Call of Duty. I have to admit.
But it's not that those aren't.
Well, it's just a different
games.
style.
It's that it gives you more of that teamwork where it's not just watching each other's backs for the sake of bullet counts.
And you were saying that you could switch back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you find it pretty necessary in order to do that later in the game?
I've never needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never did either. I mean, I tried them just for the sake of trying the other characters, but I'm a tank in all my games, so Dalton was my character.
So, all right, well, now we have 2 different opinions. So that's fun because Rachel talked about once and completely slammed it, so it's fun to get a different perspective here. And I always like hearing that. But with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our questions and answers from last week's show and our question and comments for this week. So we asked you guys last week about Anita Sarkeesian and what you guys thought. Mr. Jack of all trades on the chat or on YouTube said, "I love how Anita has a problem with a handful of women dying off screen, but has absolutely no problem with killing literally hundreds of men in almost every game." Diana la 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 one.
That's a great example.
Diana la 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 one says, "Now I ran." In my opinion on Anita's videos, I haven't seen them, honestly, but on sexism in video games, we need to remember that video games are not the only things that have sexism. People need to remember that showing tits isn't being sexist, and there is a difference in objectifying and having strong women who are naked. I could write on.
I don't think Anita ever brought up the point, hey, look at all these tits in these video games. That's sexist.
But she hasn't gotten into that yet. She has a lot of videos.
That's possible, yes.
I think she hasn't gotten into that yet.
Well, topic aside, she's really boring.
And then she also seems smug as hell. But anyways, Joshua Taber says, "I do appreciate Anita trying to stand up for what she believes, and I think that's important in today's society. I also think people should be respectful of what she's doing. If you don't like it, don't watch. How hard is that? There's no need to be rude." And we also asked you what you guys are looking forward to at E3. So Joshua Tabera said PS4, Infamous, Second Son. I can't wait to see where they go with God of War. I'm hoping Egypt. And on Wii U, I'll keep buying Nintendo as long as they make Zelda. And Diana la 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 la. I just like saying your name like that. They said that they are... currently, my boyfriend and I have decided, though there are perks to all of them, we're leaning towards the PS4 as it has all the games we're really looking forward to. And to us, it's being advertised for its games, and we're only going to be playing games on it. We're not looking for an entertainment system. So with all that said, I do have a question for you guys for next week. I was going to ask you guys what are you most jazzed up about for E3, but next week E3 will have happened by the time we see you again. So being that E3 will have happened, I want to know what your favorite announcement was, what you guys are jazzed up that happened at E3 this week. So we would love to hear what you guys are so excited about that they announced at E3 this week.
I think one question I'd also like to ask alongside that is, given that they're probably going to announce their launch titles, more than what system are you going to buy, what games are you going to have on day one?
Yeah.
All of them.
Every
All
single
of
one.
them.
Game launches are always so expensive. I'm like,
Yeah. I've
I've
been
heard
saving
the
up
same
for a
thing.
year for these new
Exactly.
consoles. I'm ready.
I'm really just hope that they announce some new IPs. That's what I want to see, because that's the best time to sell new IPs, because there's nothing else out there for you to look at.
Put it this way, when the
New
PS3
IPs.
came out, I bought Topspin, and I don't play tennis games. So I was like, oh, that's a new game. I should buy that.
Yeah.
2 levels, I was like, this is hard. Okay, I'm never playing it.
No more tennis.
Yeah.
All right,
Roger
guys.
Federer's kicking my ass.
Well, with that said, thank you so much for joining us this week. We loved having you on the live chat, all you guys who joined. And if you do guys want to join us on the live chat, we're every single week, 12 p.m. Pacific time on AfterBuzzTV.com. You can join us on the chat. Please do join us. You can always call in as well, and we will read your guys' comments and thoughts off. And also, please do go to our YouTube and iTunes. It's up on iTunes now as well. Please rate, please comment, and help us out if you enjoy the show. And if you don't like the show,
share
comment
us
and
with
let us know
people.
why you don't like
So
the show.
can they just subscribe to it? Is that what it is on iTunes? If they go
Yeah,
to
on iTunes you can just subscribe to us, and please rate and comment as well. On YouTube, we're still part of AfterBuzz TV, and we actually should have a couple new shows starting up this week, Game Control, or this month, Game Control wise. And with that said, guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That is Klein, or go to @GameControlLive and check out @GameControlLive's Twitter feed.
And me, you can find me at KAORIOUS on Twitter and Facebook page.
Me, Grant, you can find me on Twitter @GAK.
And I am on Twitter too, and I'm at the Raychul.
And you guys can find me on MySpace at Sony Rumors.
Whoa,
That's what-
MySpace. Come on. Can we also throw out that Grant's mic worked today?
Yay!
Hey!
Almost, it did not. Almost.
And thank you so much for joining us this week, Sohrab.
It was a pleasure being
Loved
on the
having
show.
you. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Had to do it to the